Good day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Legends Limited Super Saiyan Broly and if Broly is any decent in PvP. I've been summoning for him quite a bit because I really wanted him. I'm a huge fan of Broly, obviously. What I will say is that, to be honest with you, Broly at low stars and Broly without decent health equipment doesn't feel intrinsically super duper OP. And the reason being is I think Broly is a great offensive unit. I think he's a really good, fast draw, powerful, strong offensive unit. I think he, isn't necessarily tanky enough to really have like a retroactive presence. So I think when you can get on top with Broly, I think he feels amazing. I think when you can't get on top with Broly, it can be a bit rough. So he's kind of different to the Fusion Zamasu. Like right now for powerful opponents, Fusion Zamasu and Broly are kind of battling for this red slot, like who's going to be the red on the team. And like Fusion Zamasu for me is just a lot tankier, a lot more utility based, whereas Broly is more like I can get on top of you and I can become really oppressive. So how Broly works is pretty simple. Obviously in terms of main ability, he obviously transforms. He'll draw new cards when you have 3 or less. He restores his own health, his ki, vanishing gauge, etc. If your unique gauge is full, he will obviously increase his damage inflicted, destroy all your enemies' cards. So the main ability is good, card control, etc. really solid. In terms of his unique ability, he reduces damage received by 70%, which is decent, plus 120% to damage inflicted, and increases art card draw speed by 1, which is solid. When he enters battlefield, he gets plus 50% to damage inflicted. He applies buff effects, nullification of enemy special action, change covers, and he inflicts enemies with an attribute downgrade -1 to enemies' art card draw speed. Every time he uses a strike or blast card, he gets plus 15% to damage. He nullifies enemies' reduced key effects, and he activates or this resets every time he switches in. When he defeats an enemy, you will draw new cards, restore his health, restore his vanishing gauge, give himself damage inflicted, and also increase art card draw speed again. So pretty good stuff. His final passive is unlimited power level, where he'll knock the enemy back to long range if he performs a cover change against strike arts. He will restore health by 15% and ki by 30 during a cover change, and nullify unfavorable element factors for damage sustained. So this is his big thing. Every time he uses an arts card while he's on the field, basically he'll restore his own ki, increase damage inflicted, 2 timers. And then whenever it hit with an enemy's attack, when he's on the field, he'll restore his own health, shorten the ally substitution count, and reduce enemy ki. When he transforms, then he just becomes an absolute juggernaut. So in this situation, he basically prevents any kind of special action cover change. He also obviously does huge damage at this point. And every time he, basically takes out an enemy, he just becomes an absolute behemoth. In terms of his blues and reds and greens, his green's really cool. The drawing cards, the key recovery, damage inflicted, etc. And the blue's really solid as well, dealing more damage based on the number of enemy battle members left, which is pretty solid. Overall for me, if I'm being honest, the big thing with Broly, ultimately at the end of the day, is that he is pure pressure. So you either get Broly rolling, and then you can put so much pressure on your opposition that they just don't know what to do. Or you don't get Broly rolling, and he can get one-hit comboed, especially if you don't have a super high health equip or stars on Broly. He can really get one hit, he can really get tapped out. So you need to, you really need to bring that good equipment for him. Like Burley's one of those units where having 3 equips with like 10% health on them makes such a difference to having 3 equips with 5% health on. Like that extra 15% HP. I know it means a lot for a lot of other units, but it means a ton for Burley. Because without it, Burley, can be caught out. Now his cover change is super helpful, and I think players need to roll with him like that. Your goal shouldn't be to start the fight with Burley, should be to introduce him during a cover change, to integrate his damage nullification factors, and then also then have him cause key loss, increase card recovery, and just basically come in a lot hotter than the way he would if he started the battle that way. And then afterwards you can like use him to counteract and cause big damage. If you can get the Burley ball rolling, he can win you entire fights. If you don't manage to get the ball rolling, if you're constantly being stutter stepped and stopped and paused along the way, then Burley can feel very unimpactful. He's one of those units where when you get everything right, you solo the whole team. When you don't get everything right, you basically fall apart. So it's one of those things where I personally like the unit, but I do kind of see where people could potentially struggle with him. It is a difficult kind of unit to make work because you need to engage in the pressure. If you don't, then you end up in a situation where like you are losing out and you are then caught in a trap. I think that makes sense. Like it's fine, but I think overall you have to sort of accept that Burley, like here you can see good old Gogeta counteracting Burley. Burley can get sort of one tapped in retaliation, but I think overall Burley's good, and I think overall as long as you use him right, as long as you incorporate him right, I think he's great. So yeah.